Hey, what is this? Why is it here? And why is it so important? And how come it's still here after all these years?
I wonder if mercantilism has something to do with this.
This graphic perfectly illustrates how the theory of mercantilism sought to enrich mother countries such as England, France, and Spain through securing a favorable balance of trade. Therefore, raw materials such as lumber and precious metals would be sent to the mother country, turned into finished products, and then sold back to the colonies. This political cartoon demonstrated how mercantilism worked, with mother countries such as England, Spain, and France gaining a variety of raw materials from their colonies.
Triangular trade, the living example of mercantilism.
These trade patterns frequently included the infamous Middle Passage, in which slaves were traded from Africa to the Caribbean. In another graphic illustrating triangular trade, products are shown moving between Europe, Africa, and the Western Hemisphere. It's the cash crop of the Chesapeake, tobacco, which was so important in colonial Virginia and Maryland. People began to think about it as the staple crop. It was very labor intensive. When the crop was finally ready to be harvested, the leaves would have to be dried. Eventually, after the leaves were properly dried and cured, they would then be prepared for shipment, and large barrels known as hogsheads.
Here we see a typical hogshead barrel, which, if properly packed, would contain 1,000 pounds of tobacco that would be sent overseas to England. Here's an example of how they would pack these hogshead barrels with a press that would put as much as possible into these barrels. Then they would roll these barrels with an oxen or a horse down to the river to be put onto the ships.
Rolling roads, such as this one at the Lee Plantation at Stratford Hall, Virginia, were used to move the heavy hogshead barrels down to a wharf. This was hard work, since the barrels were pulled by oxen, which would be challenging to guide down some difficult terrain. At the dock areas, transactions would sometimes take place between planters and merchants. After the barrels were loaded upon vessels, they were ocean-bound for Britain. Tobacco became an essential part of progress for the plantation system, which is the reason why so many of the great houses of the colonial era, such as Stratford Hall and Mount Vernon, have endured.
So why? Because of mercantilism. Mercantilism was the sending out to the mother country of raw materials using the superhighways of the rivers and ships laden with huge hogshead barrels of 1,000 pounds of tobacco or more, bringing back finished goods from the mother country for consumerism here in the colonies. That's why this plantation still exists and others like it. Wow!